All right, everybody, and so we're moving on to our next lesson, and this is now going to be about graphing a function rule, and our goal is to graph equations that represent functions. All right, so when we are graphing a function rule, the first thing that we need to do is, of course, identify some points that what will be ordered pairs, okay, that could be shown on our Cartesian plane. So whenever you have your input, whenever you have a function rule, I should say, you just have to put in some values. So those are your x values. You evaluate the equation. So this equation here, you put in the value of x, and then you will get a value of y. All right. So let's have an example first. So let's start with the usual numbers, and I would say the usual numbers when I mean those numbers that are very near the center of your Cartesian plane. So typically -3 to +3, or you can do -2 to +2, something like that, so that you can see some possible values in there. Okay, so let's try let's start with -2, since our graph here has some -2. So if our x is -2, your y value is simply going to be, just put in the x in there, so -2 times the x, which is -2 plus 1. So you will have -2 and -2, that's +4, okay, plus 1, and so that will be a 5. So if your value is -2, the point will be at 5, correct? Okay, now if you try to plot it here, the highest that we have is a 3, and then we know that that's a 4. So you can try to go back, okay? You can consider another value. Since you cannot graph, it's going to be outside, all right? But that's totally okay. It just so happened that our graphing area has a smaller, how do you call that, consideration for the graphing. So let's try -1 instead. So again, just plug in the values. So -2 times -1 plus 1. Okay, that's the equation. So that would be 2 plus 1, and that's going to be a 3. So if you have a -1, then you will have a +3. Can we plot that point now from our area here? Definitely yes. So we can have our -1 is here, and +3 is right over here. Okay. So that's our -3, all right, +3, I should say. Now let's put in our 0. So -2 times 0, that's going to be a 0 plus 1. So that's going to be a 0 plus 1, which is just +1. So we will have a point at 0, 1. So 0, 1, there's another point over here. Oops, sorry. I don't know why it always does that. So there's a 0, 1 over there. And then we'll have +1. So that's going to be -2 and +1. So that's -2 plus 1. So again, that's going to be a -1. So we will have a point at 1, -1. So 1, -1, it's going to be here. That's another point over there. Can you extend some more? Yes, you can. You can try that. You can have a +2 over here, okay? So let's have a -2 times +2 plus 1. So that's going to be a -4 plus 1, which is a -3. So you will have a point at 2, -3. And yes, we can still graph that. That's -2. This is -3. So 2, -3 is going to be this point here. So as you can see, I am hoping that I can get a straight line here, okay? So just pardon my graph. Oops, my bad. So just pardon my graph. So you just have to connect all those points. And so that is the graph of our function rule. Y is equal to -2x plus 1. All right? So why don't you try this next example on your own? Our equation now, or our function now, is 1/2 x minus 1. So try out your values and try the graph. Go ahead. All right, so to make this the function rule easier for us to get the x and y value, since we are given 1/2 x, so we can put in the values of x that are even numbers. Since 1/2 times an even number, your denominator 2 could get canceled. All right, so just imagine our given here, we have our x to be -2, 0, 2, and 4. Okay, so if you're going to simplify 1/2 times -2, -2 is -2 over 1. All right, now, and you have if you have your multiplication of fraction, you can cancel any common factor between your numerator and denominator, so the 2 can get canceled. This will become 1, so you end up with 1 times -1. That is why you have a -1 here. So you have the -1 minus the 1, and adding them together, that will give us a -2. And so as you can see, it's a lot easier to work with those even numbers. It easily gets canceled with the 1/2. All right, so 1/2 times 4, that's gonna be a 2. 1/2 times 2, that's a 1. 1/2 times 0, that is a 0. And so if you plot these points, the x values and the corresponding y values, if you plot them, this is how the graph would look like. Okay, all right.